I at least want to say goodbye to my butt. Go to the Winchester, have a pint, and wait for it to blow over. That's oh, son of a gun. Dinosaur, Phil. Batteries in my dino are dead. You're home on a Sunday for once. Finally, you've got a day off and you're loving it. The weather's beautiful. The sun is out. Life is good. Your daughter's 17 years old and she's out with some friends. She's a good girl. You're not worried. They're probably out at a restaurant in town somewhere, in a small town that you live in. No big deal. As you're enjoying your beautiful, peaceful Sunday, having a great time, listening to the radio, suddenly the power goes out. Huh. You live in a neighborhood near town and you look around and it seems like pretty much power's out everywhere and you're not really sure why. You've seen a lot of post-apocalyptic movies and the first thing that comes into your mind is this an EMP? Is this the big one? Is this when it all happens? So you walk out to your car, you put the key in the ignition and you crank it up. Luckily the car starts just fine, so you're thinking to yourself, hey, maybe it's not an EMP. You look up at the sky and you see a couple of airplanes flying overhead. So, you know, in your mind, you think, that's probably not an EMP. Probably just a localized power outage. But you're still not sure. So, what do you do? I'm going to give you some options, an A, B, C, or D type of thing. And I want you to select one. Before you finish watching the rest of the video, I want you to go ahead and make up your mind. If you were in this situation on your lazy Sunday and this happened, what would you do? Would you turn on a battery-powered radio, such as the one that's in your car, or some other battery-powered radio, and see if you can collect some information that way and see if it's a localized issue or maybe something bigger? Next option would be, would you walk across the street to your neighbor's house and ask them if they know anything? Do they know what's going on? Was there a planned power outage? What's going on? Have they heard anything? What's the deal? Your third option is just to go ahead and hop in your car, go find your daughter, and get her home just in case. Would you wait? Would you stay at home and just wait for your daughter to come home eventually? You're expecting her home. Would you just wait? Or my favorite option is just fire up the grill and have yourself a good old-fashioned apocalypse party. While I'm sitting here drinking my coffee, I would like for you in the comments section to select which one of those options you would do. One of them, a combination of them, or would you do something completely different? But go ahead and cast your vote and then we'll continue on. On a radio such as this, I can turn this thing on and I can scan through the local radio stations and I can listen for possible information that might give me a clue as to what's going on around here. AM, FM radio stations you can listen to on something like this. Your car radio, you could do the same. Now, do be skeptical of anything that you hear on the radio. Just because it's on some radio network, radio station somewhere, doesn't mean it's the truth. Maybe that's just what they want you to believe. I know for a fact that certain entities out there that are in control of certain populations will definitely bend the truth in order to keep the population calm, or at least that's their goal. Oh gosh. Hey girl. Hey. All right. Next option on our list was to walk over to the neighbor's house and check and see if they know anything. Because, you know, you don't know. Maybe there was some sort of radio signal out there, an emergency warning perhaps, and you missed it. But they happen to be around and hear it. So it's a really good idea just to walk over to a trusted neighbor and say, hey, Bill, what's going on, man? Have you heard anything? Would you know what's going on? And he could be like, well, no, I didn't hear anything, but I was just downtown and all the power was out in the streets downtown as well. And then you could be like, oh, well, okay, so maybe it's you can gain some insight into this situation, and perhaps it's not just my street, it's the entire town. So to your knowledge, now that we've gathered that info, we know that it's not just a very small region that's without power, it's a much, much larger region. So in this scenario, I should have mentioned at the beginning, your phones don't work. So the cars work, the planes are flying, but your phones, for some reason, do not work. So your standard, usual, normal method of communications is down. Your daughter is out and about. What should you do? The third option was to just hop in your car, grab your keys, crank it up, and go get her. assuming you know exactly where she is. Maybe in this situation, just to be safe, if I know my daughter's 10 miles away at her friend's house or something like that, I just zip on over there, I pick her up, I bring her home, because we just don't know what's going on. Might be the smart option. If she's driving, then maybe I have communicated to her ahead of time and I say, hey, if power goes out cross town, whatever the scenario might be, just go ahead and get your keister home as soon as that happens, just to be safe. I think that that would be smart, and having a plan such as this set up ahead of time is definitely the best way to go. Next option would be to hang out at home, enjoy your Sunday, wait for your daughter to come home and start gathering more information, develop a plan as to what to do next. Now, I think that we should have some sort of plan developed ahead of time. I don't think we should wait for a scenario like this to happen before we develop some sort of plan. I think you're going to be a little bit behind the curve, the chaos curve, as I like to call it. You're going to be behind that if you wait till something like this happens. At least have a vague, broad kind of plan in the event of a large-scale power outage. Not that you can't survive without electricity. That's not the thing. It's that people will freak out if the power's out for a long period of time. Final option, my favorite one, was just to fire up the grill and have an apocalypse party. Now, there is some strategery behind this one right here, because if the power's out, your refrigerated frozen foods are only going to last so long. Do you immediately crack into them and start firing up that Barbie and throwing steaks on the grill, invite the neighbors over? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if the power's been out for a long period of time, let's say over 24 hours, we're going on to 48 hours, a lot of that food is going to start to thaw out. It's going to start to go bad, and we need to do something with it. We can talk about dehydration and all those methods that we can preserve those foods for longer periods of time so we don't just waste it. Or we could just have a great big bash and get everybody over and enjoy the frozen foods. A lot of people do this. If you're in hurricane territory, for example, you're very familiar with these types of things. Power's out, cook all the frozen foods before it goes bad and just wait for it to come back on. This would be a good opportunity for your friends, neighbors, to start developing a bigger plan, a bigger picture, and start gathering possibly more information. See what they know, see what their theories are, see what their plan is, and then maybe we can start kind of coming to some sort of conclusions and figuring out a big plan for the community. Hopefully, if I had a plan, if I knew my daughter knew what to do and she knew that she was just supposed to come home, which is what my plan would be, that's what we would do. If that wasn't a plan in place already, or if I couldn't reliably count on her to follow those instructions for whatever reason, then maybe I would just go get her. But I wouldn't freak out. I would go talk to my neighbors. I'd listen to the radio. I'd try to develop some sort of conclusion based on the information that I've been given. And I would just stay calm, relax. It's probably not that big a deal. You know, no one's gonna die here. It's probably not an EMP, or the Russians aren't attacking. You know, we don't need to start up the Wolverine clan. We can just we'll get through this eventually. That's probably the best course of action until I've learned otherwise. I always like going through comments on these polls because some people have some pretty interesting responses to these scenarios. A lot of people have some interesting plans, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong. Everybody's more than free to develop their own conclusions based on this small little information that I've given them. This person says use your landline to call the neighbors. I don't have a landline. Maybe I should. But if I did have a landline, I don't know who I would call. If cell phones weren't working, maybe it's just my cell phone not working, then maybe. But if cell phones in the area weren't working, I don't know anyone that has landlines. No one. Nobody I know has a landline. So, and I guess if power's out, do landlines work? I guess they could potentially still work if the power's out. I don't know. I haven't had a landline since I've been an adult, basically. I've always just had a cell phone. Angie says that she's really grateful for this because after reading this poll, she had a conversation with her daughter about this and said, if this ever happens, if power ever goes out, just come straight home. So because of this poll, she developed a family emergency plan. And I think that's fantastic. And that's what this is all about. Look, I'm not an expert of anything. If you're watching these videos because you think I'm some sort of survival expert and I know everything, and I know exactly what to do in all these situations, you are in the wrong place, and I'm very sorry to disappoint you. All I do is try to think ahead, and I try to plan ahead and think through a lot of these scenarios and And I think that's all we really can do, because unless we've actually gone through them, we don't have personal experience of this exact situation. I've never experienced an EMP. I don't know exactly what to expect. All I can do is gather the information that's available to me and develop some sort of plan to the best of my ability. I develop a wide assortment of skills so that I can be as prepared as possible for whatever life may throw at me. And that's what I enjoy doing. That's what I'm passionate about. And that's why I like teaching this stuff. So I'm really glad that this has had a serious effect. This has had a direct effect on somebody's life. And I'm hoping it's more than just Angie here. I'm hoping more people have opened their eyes a little bit and developed some sort of family emergency plan. Go to the Winchester, have a pint, and wait for it to blow over. That's a good one. That's a quote from the movie Shaun of the Dead. If you aren't familiar, excellent zombie movie, by the way. But really, I mean, in all reality, that's not too far from what you should do. You need to stay calm, relax, and oftentimes, most of the time, stuff like this is just going to work itself out and it's going to blow over. Rarely do you need to react immediately in order to save the lives of the families around you. T. Hopkins says that I've just described an EMP event, and he goes on to say that basically every test performed, I'm going to read this word for word so I don't misquote it. He says that I've described an EMP in every test ever performed. Most small electronics not connected to the grid and automobiles, even the ones with fuel injection and computers, work just fine. Now, I've read some studies on that as well, that just because there's an EMP doesn't mean your cars aren't going to work. It doesn't mean that everything just goes black. There's different varying scales and levels of these types of events. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this stuff. If you have some expertise in this and you're not just going off what somebody on YouTube said, then I would love to hear about it in the comments section. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't just see that an EMP being this blanketing effect and wipes out everything no matter what. It would probably depend. It would depend on where you are, your location, your distance from the event. All this stuff kind of is really interesting to me, and I would love to know more about it. Philip Thompson says that every time the power goes out, he's secretly high-fiving himself in his own mind, saying, "This is it. This is the big one." And then the power comes back on, and he's sad. I think that's pretty funny. I wonder what it is about, the apocalypse, the SHTF, these big events that cause the Great Reset. What is it about that is appealing to men, especially, mostly men, I would say? I guess because it's exciting, and I guess that we live these soft, cushy lives, climate-controlled lives, where we're no longer spearing the wildebeest, and there's something inside of us that craves that adventure, that challenge, that the hunt, whatever it may be, that would happen because of an event like that. I think a lot of that is fantasy, and a lot of it is this romantic notion that we're going to be out, picking locks and, carrying our rifle across our back and setting up LPOPs and farming the land and building apocalypse groups and things of that nature. And while I'm no different than Philip there, if I'm honest, something inside of me looks forward to an opportunity to use the skills and gear and stuff that I've been working on over the years. But I am in touch with reality, though. Just like the Alone show, like for the survival shows on TV. A lot of people have this romantic notion that it's going to be this amazing experience, and they're going to enjoy this time they have out in the wild by themselves, living off the land. But in reality, it's pretty dang miserable and pretty boring. You're starving, you're really hungry, the bugs are eating you, you've got no one to talk to. It's not as romantic as it may seem on TV. So I think that goes along with this, what we're talking about here, this potential EMP, this, big event that we're talking about. It's not as romantic. There's going to be a lot of people get hurt, a lot of people die, a lot of people get sick, a lot of people suffer in a big event like this, and things would get really bad before they ever got any better. And I'm not criticizing Phil here. I think it's a funny comment, and I kind of agree to some extent, but I definitely think that, looking forward to this event like this is not something that we should do. We should enjoy and cherish this nice, easy life that we have, and love the ones around you with all your heart, and do as much as you can for people around you, and go see a movie, go out to eat, enjoy driving your car with the gas that's easy to get, and the food that's easy to get without having to farm it. Oh man, and the AC, the air conditioning, live it up. Enjoy it while it lasts, my friends. Eli says that he lives in Maine, and this kind of thing happens all the time. Power goes out all the time, so he just fire up the generator and do what he normally does. So he's got some real life experience. He's prepared for this type of thing. He knows what's going on because where he lives, it's pretty normal for the power to go out, and there's absolutely no reason to freak out. Grim Jet says to, the good Lord said to rest on Sunday, so I shall. That's my burgers sear on the grill. It's not on Sunday, sorry. Power goes out on any other day, we'll get to work, but on Sunday we're still firing up the grill. All things happen in due time. I'm impressed with user SN9V2FNK3M. He says his daughter's truck, his son's truck, his wife's truck all have EMP shields. He's got 3 sets of ham radios, GMRS, and backup, all with amplifiers, all with a second 12-volt lithium battery. This guy is prepared. I tell you what, I'm getting after it out there. Mr. 99 says a power shortage doesn't mean the end of the world. And that's absolutely right, Could be no big deal at all. Unless, of course, it is. Shinlongohan says, pinch myself because I'm clearly dreaming. My daughter would never be off compound with friends. Listen, you guys raise your kids however you like. If you want to keep them locked in a cage their entire lives and never let them go out and experience things and make mistakes and have adventures for themselves, then that's fine. But, if you got a 17-year-old daughter, eventually really soon, she's going to be out on her own anyway. And it's best if you kind of let them start making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and challenging themselves and gaining some experience, some life experience on their own. I think that's just my opinion. I'm not criticizing you, Shin Longohan. You raise your kids however you like, but I think that keeping them inside of a compound forever is probably not the best approach. And maybe I'm reading too much into your comment. If you're watching this one, chime in there for me, man. If you've got a generator and you can still keep your Wi-Fi going off of the generator, could you still do Wi-Fi calling? Perhaps, depending on the situation, yes. Martin Dunwell says, look for a mushroom cloud. Get out a bottle of something or other, Ardbeg. I don't know, I'm not a drinker. Ardbeg, and have a few shots. The way things are going, it's getting very likely that you're going to see a mushroom cloud. I don't know, maybe. Terry Richards says, grab my ankles and kiss my butt goodbye. Probably an EMP and a nuclear weapon right behind it. I at least want to say goodbye to my butt. Get on social media and talk trash about the power company. I guess. Power's out. Hopefully you got a generator so you can get on social media. eBomb2421 says, today you absolutely cannot believe the media, radio or TV. I think that's probably an accurate statement. You got to be really careful with the information that you hear and you see. Make your own assessments. Carlos says, you're describing a typical Sunday where I'm from. So fire up the grill. My daughter better get her butt home by herself or move elsewhere. And then Relic Pathfinder says, is she pretty? So, I don't know, pretty funny comments, guys. But anyway, I'd like to hear what you guys think about this scenario, this situation, this survival scenario. Let me know in the comment section what you would do if the power goes out, you're at home, and you just thinking to yourself, what's going on? Thanks for watching, friends. Thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.